Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to bring you the essential insights, the really important facts you need to understand the world's most critical developments. And today we are definitely plunging into one of those, a situation that's not just critical, it feels like it's getting more dire by the day. We're talking about the international security crisis in Haiti. And importantly, we're also going to dissect a significant proposed pivot in how the global community might be trying to address it. We've been digging through recent reports, official UN statements, diplomatic briefings, all detailing the security transition, basically trying to pull out the key nuggets for you. Our mission really is clear. First, let's set the scene, the grim reality on the ground in Haiti. Then we'll look at the international efforts so far, what's been tried. And finally, unpack this major new strategic direction being pushed, particularly by the United States. Because it really does feel like a fundamental shift is brewing, something that could reshape the whole international response. Okay, so the backdrop. What is the current situation in Haiti? I mean, reports from the UN, they paint a pretty devastating picture, don't they? We're hearing about a profound humanitarian catastrophe. The capital, Port-au-Prince, is apparently on the brink of, well, what many are calling a complete gang takeover. This isn't just, a breakdown of law and order. It sounds like society itself is unraveling, gang violence forcing, what is it, something like 360,000 people from their homes?
That's right, a staggering number. And it also severely hinders access to vital humanitarian aid. Just imagine an entire capital city effectively under siege, people living in constant fear. It's truly dire.
It really is. And to try and counter this, we've had this multinational security support mission, the MSS, right, for about a year now.
Yes, the MSS mission. It's been kind of a unique setup. You had Kenya providing the core manpower police officers specifically tasked with securing critical infrastructure. Think airports, key ports, that sort of thing. And then on the other side, the United States has been the primary financial backer, providing the funds needed to operate.
So Kenya on the ground, U.S. providing the financial muscle behind the scenes.
Pretty much, yeah. That was the arrangement.
Okay. And these efforts, clearly well-intentioned, but they've hit some major roadblocks, haven't they? The MSS mission, despite Kenya's efforts and U.S. funding, it's been seriously undermined by, well, shortfalls. What were those specific weaknesses? What really held it back?
Well, the reports are pretty clear on the practical challenges. First off, a chronic deficit in personnel. And it's not just about the overall numbers, but, the ability to maintain a sustained presence across all these sprawling gang-controlled areas in Port-au-Prince. It meant that they often couldn't secure, say, the airport and protect aid corridors or vulnerable neighborhoods all at the same time. It became a bit like whack-a-mole.
Right, stretched too thin.
Exactly. Then, secondly, there's a stark lack of adequate intelligence. Without really understanding the gang structures, who's in charge, how they operate, the mission often ended up being reactive, not proactive.
Making targeted operations really difficult, I imagine.
Incredibly difficult. And finally, insufficient equipment. Everything from, the right kind of armored vehicles for that terrain to reliable communication systems. That, coupled with just weak security infrastructure overall, really limited their reach, their agility, and honestly, the safety of their own people.
Yeah.
Basically, they were trying to handle an incredibly complex, very dangerous environment with, well, let's just say not all the tools they needed.
That really clarifies the operational struggles. It wasn't just abstract shortfalls, but very real, tangible limits on what they could actually achieve. Now, with all these issues, the UN has obviously been involved assessing things. What steps has the Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, taken? And maybe just as important, what has he not done?
Right. Guterres has been active. He specifically recommended establishing a UN support office for the MSS. And what's really critical here, and the sources really stress this, is that this recommendation came after advice against a full-blown UN peacekeeping mission.
Ah, okay. That's a crucial distinction.
It absolutely is. The UN is pushing for a more targeted kind of help, not the traditional big blue helmet peacekeeping force we've seen elsewhere. It suggests a cautious approach, probably learning from past missions and recognizing just how unique and dangerous the Haitian situation is with these powerful gangs rather than, say, state actors.
Okay, so that difference between a support office and a full peacekeeping mission, that's really key for you listening. If the UN isn't sending peacekeepers, what does a support office actually do? How could it help with those shortfalls you mentioned, intel, equipment, coordination, without being this huge UN force itself? Sounds like a more surgical approach.
Precisely. Surgical is a good word. A UN support office wouldn't be the direct security provider. It's more like a sophisticated logistical and strategic helper. Think of it as boosting the MSS's own capabilities, not replacing them. It could provide crucial logistical aid transport, fuel, medical support, things like that. That frees up the MSS to focus on actual security tasks.
Okay, handling the back end stuff.
Exactly. And on intelligence, it could help set up better coordination, maybe provide advanced analysis tools, or even training for intel gathering in that kind of urban warfare setting.
Hmm.
For equipment, maybe streamline getting the right gear, maintaining it. It really leverages the UN's big organizational capacity to plug specific gaps, makes the existing mission hopefully more effective without taking on the direct security role or, the political baggage that sometimes comes with full peacekeeping ops. It's a calculated move for a tough situation.
That really clarifies the UN's role there, that nuanced approach. Okay, and this brings us to maybe the biggest development here. The United States. They've given what sounds like the strongest signal yet that they want a new international force to actually take over from the Kenyan-led mission. This isn't just tweaking things. This sounds like a major strategic pivot, right?
It is a very significant one, and the implications could be huge. The U.S. has explicitly urged the Organization of American States, the OAS, to step up and take a leading role in a new mission. Now, it's widely known the U.S. heavily funds the OAS, so when they urge something, it carries weight.
Naturally.
And the core message is pretty clear. They want the region, the countries of the Americas, to take more ownership, more responsibility for Haiti's security. This isn't just about swapping out leaders. It feels like part of a broader trend in U.S. foreign policy, pushing regional partners to handle regional problems. Maybe it suggests the U.S. wants to reduce its direct military footprint while still having influence. And it kind of implicitly admits that past efforts, maybe just train and equip missions, haven't always worked out long term.
So yeah, much more than just finding a new leader for the mission. It's rethinking who should lead and what kind of force is needed. What specifics have we heard from, say, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on this? What does his language tell us?
Well, Marco Rubio was very direct about this when he spoke to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee back in May. He said pretty bluntly, "We are seeking to come up with an alternative strategy because Haiti is heading in a bad direction." Simple as that.
Okay, acknowledging the current approach isn't working.
Right. But he went further. He directly challenged the OAS, basically questioning its purpose. He asked, the OAS has not led a mission since 1965. Why would we have an OAS if it cannot deal with Haiti?
Wow, that's putting them on the spot.
Absolutely. It's not just a question. It feels like a strategic ultimatum. He framed it as an opportunity for U.S. leadership to, quote, get organizations like OAS to step forward and provide a mission to deal with Haiti. So it becomes really clear here. The U.S. vision involves Kenya stepping back from leadership and an OAS-led mission taking over. It's a deliberate push from the U.S. pressing a regional body into action.
Yeah.
That whole regional solutions for regional problems idea again.
A very strong push indeed. And did anyone else from the U.S. administration echo this? What about the U.S. mission to the OAS?
Yes. The Deputy Chief of Mission, Kimberly Penland, added more detail. She started by thanking Kenya, saying, the U.S. thanks Kenya for its dedication for the last year. Standard diplomacy there. But then she pivoted. We must ensure that an even greater share of the international community is invested in the fight. Okay, broader involvement. But crucially, she added, we will also seek robust regional participation to provide strategic leadership of the force. Leadership being the key word there. Regionally led.
Not just troops, but actual command.
Exactly. Strategic leadership. And she also noted, we note the next international force must be adequately resourced, which, suddenly points back to the problems we discussed earlier. Under-resourcing has plagued past efforts.
So the call is for a stronger, more committed, and definitely regionally led effort this time.
That seems to be the clear message coming from the U.S.
Fascinating. So if the OAS does step into this, it would be their first security mission lead since 1965. That's nearly 60 years. What does that massive gap tell us? Does it underline just how huge the challenge in Haiti is, or maybe how determined the U.S. is to make this regional solution happen, almost forcing the OAS to, rediscover the security role?
That historical gap is incredibly telling, isn't it? 1965 was a completely different world, geopolitically. The fact the U.S. is pushing them so hard now suggests, well, two big things, I think. First, the Haiti crisis is seen as so severe, so complex, it demands something genuinely new, a really robust regional response, different from what's been tried before. And second, it signals a very strong U.S. desire to shift the burden, the ownership of these regional security problems onto regional bodies themselves.
So it's a test for the OAS.
A massive test, not just an opportunity, but a profound challenge to its collective will, its institutional capacity, its whole relevance today in regional security. Honestly, many analysts would argue the OAS, as it stands, might not be fully equipped for such a complex mission without some serious changes, boosting its military coordination, its logistics, navigating the politics between member states. It's a really high-stakes gamble.
And whilst this push for the OAS is happening, there are still other diplomatic conversations going on, right? Like that call between Kenya's President Ruto and Secretary Rubio.
Exactly. That call adds another layer. Reportedly, during that call, Kenya was actively lobbying for the UN Secretary General's proposals.
Yeah.
The UN Logistical Support Office we talked about. So that shows Kenya believes that robust logistical and resource support is absolutely vital for any mission to succeed, no matter who's officially leading it.
Right. They need the backbone support regardless.
Precisely. So while the U.S. is pushing for this leadership change, the fundamental questions about how to sustain and support the mission effectively, whether it's OAS-led or something else, are still very much being debated. Kenya's focused on making sure the mission works, whatever its structure.
Okay, this is genuinely a complex, multi-layered shift unfolding. So just to recap this proposed change, we're seeing a potential move away from Kenya providing the main manpower and leadership with U.S. funding towards potentially an OAS-led mission featuring this robust regional participation, still backed financially by the U.S. and hopefully boosted by that UN logistical support framework. It's a really dynamic, possibly game-changing realignment.
It really is. And this whole thing raises some big questions for you listening at home, especially given all the challenges we've outlined. What are the potential advantages of an OAS-led, regionally focused mission? Maybe, just maybe, a regional body does have a better grasp of the local context. Maybe it helps with buy-in from neighbors.
Plausible upsides.
Plausible, yes. But then the flip side, what are the big challenges the OAS would face? Stepping back into this kind of role after nearly 60 years, think about institutional memory gaps, lack of recent operational experience in something this messy, the sheer political difficulty of getting consensus and troop commitments from all its members. Can the OAS actually lead, coordinate, and sustain such a tough mission against these powerful gangs? Its ability to do that or not will massively impact Haiti's future. It's incredibly high stakes for the Haitian people.
Absolutely. It's clear the situation in Haiti is still incredibly urgent, and the U.S. is now actively pushing for this pivot towards regional leadership via the OAS. It definitely signals a new kind of approach, maybe more regionally focused, emphasizing that ownership within the Americas.
So maybe a final thought for you to ponder. Considering all the problems the current MSS mission faced, considering the OAS's history, and this clear U.S. strategic shift, what do you think it really takes to stabilize a country like Haiti right now? What specific role should regional bodies play compared to individual nations or the wider UN in these kinds of incredibly complex, volatile situations? It really comes down to questions of mandate, capacity, and ultimately political will, doesn't it?
Powerful questions and very important ones to keep thinking about as these geopolitical moves unfold. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We really encourage you to keep following these crucial international security issues and the evolving strategies being tried. We'll see you next time.